Welcome back. A recent report on 60 Minutes showed that millions of us are walking around with mistakes on our credit reports. And maybe even if you don't have a mistake, you may be sitting at home thinking, yeah, well, I still don't have a very good credit score. So joining us now is credit expert Bo Thomas. He's with Certified Credit Experts in Lee Summit, here to help us clean up some of our mess. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks.
I'm wondered at how many millions of Americans, I think they said 40 million on 60 Minutes,
absolutely,
that have a problem, a mistake of some sort on our credit score and have no idea.
No idea. Yeah, less than 20 million checked last year. So.
Right. And even if you check, and even if you see a mistake, what do you do?
Yeah.
I mean, you're just staring at a number. What, where do you begin?
Yeah, that's one of the things I thought the report Sunday night did a good job. I think is commend 60 Minutes for doing it. It was awesome information of what out there. But consumers, even though when they look at the report, they don't know what really they're looking for. Whether they had an account, is it really truly accurate? And collection companies notoriously misreport, re-age, so you might have a collection with somebody, but is it really hurting you as much as it should?
Okay, so how do we really look at this thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I would go to annualcreditreport.com. That's the best place to get your report. You don't have to pay any money. A lot of these, as soon as you get in with the bureaus, they try to sell you things that you don't need.
Right.
They're making a lot of money off consumers, and they shouldn't be.
Okay, so check that, and how often?
Yeah, you can check it free once a year with annualcreditreport.com.
Is that enough? Is that often enough?
It is, unless you feel like you get activity. If you've got some things, if you've got creditors or someone calling, you should probably invest in a monitoring service at that point, for sure.
Okay, and say that website again. Where do we find it?
Annualcreditreport.com.
Okay, once we're there and once we're taking a look, and we'll take a look at some of your tips that you've already sent over to us, but once we're there and we see our credit report, black and white, what are some things to look for? I mean, this is a lot of gibberish to most people.
Yeah, you want to make sure that if you have the account, are the dates correct? Because a lot of companies will re-age something to make it look more recent than it is. For example, collection, there's less than a 2% difference whether it's paid or unpaid. The fact that it's there is what's killing your score. So the more recent the activity, the more impact it has. Collection companies know this. So they intentionally sometimes re-age the account to make it appear newer than it really is.
Oh, isn't that interesting? Okay, so now you see a mistake. Then what do you do? Where do you begin?
Yeah, challenge it. Absolutely challenge it.
In writing?
Yeah, you must do it in writing in order for the collection agency and the credit reporting agencies to comply with the law. If you do their convenient online, they don't have to be compliant. So.
Oh, okay, the real old-fashioned way.
Yeah, exactly.
Do it in writing the way it should be. And you also say one of your tips is to pay down credit cards as close to zero. Now, I've heard varying opinions about this in the past.
Yeah, the closer to zero you can get, the more benefits you're going to get. Credit scores are ascending as opposed to descending. And what I mean is they don't start out at 850 and you lose points because of an inquiry or a late pay. You actually start out at a 350 and start to gain based on how you
pay
perform.
Things off.
Yeah, and you pay things. So you're going to get more credit the closer to zero than you are.
And one of your other tips was to ask these credit card companies for a limit increase.
Yeah, if you've got an account that face it, a lot of people can pay off all their debt. So if you can't pay down your balance really close to zero, ask for a credit increase, because if you give available credit, that's the same thing as getting a lower balance. So because they have the same effect.
Oh, it's all kind of just a ratio. Ultimately.
Yep, absolutely.
Interesting. Okay, so what now, how did these numbers work? What is considered good these days?
Yeah, well, a lot of times in order to get a mortgage, you've got to have a 640. And that's the big first kind of benchmark to get an FHA mortgage for us.
Okay.
Yep. So if you get a 640, that's going to open up the doors to get some financing from a mortgage, auto loans, you're definitely there. 740 is kind of the upper echelon, meaning once you get above a 740, you can go all the way to 850, 853.
And the top is what again?
853.
Is the very best of the best.
Absolutely. But you're not going to get anything for 800 that you wouldn't get for a 740. So
I see. That's good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. You're there.
Good enough. All right. We see other companies. You mentioned one already that offer these things to check free once a year. Should you check several companies while we're at it?
Yeah, you can. There's some good companies out there, but keep in mind they're all owned by the credit reporting agencies. They're spin-offs. The 60 Minute does a great piece on that. These guys, as soon as you get in the door, they try to sell you stuff.
Okay. That's what you avoid.
Yeah, avoid that. Check at annualcreditreport.com. That's free. You can get all 3 reports. If you see a mistake,
you can get all 3 from that one. I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. Very good. And you say the best way to get yourself a quick 100 points is what?
Yeah, the challenge the dates. Make sure everything is reporting accurately in the sense of the negative items are old. If they are old, make sure they're reporting.
And that can bump you up instantly once you get it cleared up.
Paying down balance is another benefit instantaneous. Your credit score goes up right away.
We don't want to hassle with it, but it's worth the hassle.
Absolutely.
It sounds like. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure chatting with you. All right.